Hi, we're at Cine 2018 in Munich. I'm slightly scared being in the middle of this esteemed group of engineers and developers. We're going to talk about metadata and workflows and how cooperation can actually make the whole process a lot simpler. As I will never remember everyone's names, I'm going to get all these guys to introduce themselves in order. So over to you.
Thank you. I'm Jacques Delacoux, President of Transvideo and Aaton Digital. We have long experience of metadata in sound, and we are working on iData since today 20 years.
I'm Christophe, I'm product manager at Zeiss. So we have 130 years of experience in optic and in lenses. And now we are also very interested in using metadata of the lens to simplify VFX workflow.
I'm not important.
My name is Klaus. I'm product manager with Ambient Recording, a company that does timecode and metadata since almost over 25 years, and I'm nearly as long with the company. So.
Hello, I'm Patrick. I'm a product manager and one of the founders of Pomfort. We are doing on-set software that is actually used by DITs and data wranglers, which is mostly used very close to cameras in productions worldwide.
I feel slightly sorry for you because you have nothing physical to hold, do you? It's all software. It's up there somewhere. Yeah. So, okay, where does this begin? Are we talking about the lens? Are we talking about the data generated by the lens?
Yeah, let's start with the lens because basically what we are talking about is the imperfection of the lens that everybody loves. Every DOP says, I want imperfect lenses, but the VFX people, they hate those characteristics, but they need to use the lens that the DOP like. And they have very concrete problems matching a computer graphic with scenes that have been shot with lenses. And typically what they need to do is reproduce the imperfection on the lens on the 3D, on their 3D data, 3D generated graphics. And until now what they do is they ask the production crew to shoot grids in order to characterize the lens. So typically a DIT would take like 2 days shooting grids with different distances and with different lenses. Imagine if you use a set of 10 lenses on the set. That's a whole of work which brings actually no added value. And in the photography, by the way, there's something that's quite common. Someone was mentioning in Lightroom, it's here since 20 years already. The lens gives you the data and you can correct the images. So, and no one did this in the cinematography. So what we did is we used the protocol from Cook, the /I protocol that they developed already since 20 years. We integrated this in our lens and we added a couple more data into them that are now also part of the Cook protocol. And we said, let's record this data. They characterize the lens. So basically this lens, we know exactly, because we measure it in the factory when you produce them, we measure distortion and shading data. We record them in a chip, and when you shoot, you will record those data together with the video stream using either a monitor from Transvideo or the ambient master locket, and you just pass the data to the VFX team or to the post-production, and then they simplify basically the way they will apply this on computer graphic or correct your image is much easier. They don't need to rely on grids that have been shot by the DIT 3 months ago. So it simplifies the whole process and makes it accurate. And in order to provide the end-to-end solution, we partner with different companies, Transvideo, Ambient, and also Pomfort, that helps us also to really make sure that those data will be transferred to the post-production. Okay. And I think
the Transvideo,
Jacques can explain what was the big task of Transvideo here in order to get the data and pass them to post.
Thank you, Christophe. Since at the beginning with Cook, we started to use the metadata to make some help for the focus puller and filmmakers. So we developed some tools for them, specifically reproducing the rings of the lens on our displays and to make life a little easier. And since a few years, we are working with Cook about consolidation of metadata with camera metadata to transfer that to the VFX. So what we do, we concatenate, we take data coming from HD SDI stream, and we are compatible with several cameras on the market, Arri, Sony, Red, and Panasonic too. And we collect also some data from the lens. All these lens has a connector on it. It is some kind of push data, so we can sample the data as we want and make a sampling for each time code. And we collect also some other data directly from the camera body or inside. Everything is recorded on SD card. And we have also some tech report to help the script that use the same data with some picture from the tech and lens information. So if you want to redo the same tech, you will have the serial number on the PDF of the lens, and you will have the initial setup of the lens. So all that makes useful tools, not only for the VFX, but also for everybody working around the camera. And the global project is a consolidation of all metadata. On the Aaton side, we collect also a lot of information through the sound machine that we are building. So that's a global project, exciting since 20 years. And I hope that something will finally come on the market, because until now it was not so used until people like Pomfort came with some solution to digest such information.
Fantastic. So then I'll come over this side, guys. Where does it go from here?
Well, actually, I mean, I told you we have a strong history with timecode, and we started thinking about metadata actually way back in the 90s. But the thing is, metadata rise and fall with a workflow. So, and I think the core or the foundation that made the use of metadata actually available to the public was the full digital workflow with the introduction of the digital cameras, which is hardly, one can't believe it if you say that it's not even 10 years old. So when they came out, and actually digital audio recorders were before there, so we had a slight advantage coming from an audio background. We introduced a system called the ACM, which was built around sharing metadata across several departments and make everybody utilize this additional information that is apparently there. And so we created also a clip-based workflow that gets script connects it with the camera. So that was very well embraced. And when we had this in place, since we're both Munich companies, at one ABC show, Patrick came our place and said, hey, we have this thing going on, might you be interested in linking metadata to us? I said, yes, sure. And so the whole thing started. He set us up with Zeiss, and they had this idea of getting this lens metadata outside there to the outside world. And the key thing is, while cameras record some part of the data, it is only some, and they had this idea of transporting that new information, that distortion and all of that. And so we set out, we took our existing metadata system and opened it up, expanded it. It was a box that needed to go on camera, and which would transport then the metadata over Wi-Fi to software solutions. And it was a box. I mean, it was fine. It was the first workflow that we had in place.
Right, yeah.
But it was a box. And that is hardly 2 years ago, actually. So as soon as
lifetime in these terms.
A lifetime. But we took the time ever since then and had the idea of integrating it into a camera accessory and this year we came out with the power locket, which hides that box, that metadata and timecode box, away in a power distribution system, which is useful for the first time. Timecode and camera goes together, so that camera department really utilizes or has benefit from a timecode box.
Yeah, fantastic. And often it's those little synergies, isn't it, of someone coming along and saying, why don't we do this, that opens a whole world up. Sorry you're last in the line. Software is really important. I'll give you the mic, actually. You can. There you go.
Yeah, as Christophe mentioned already, the goal is to get the metadata actually to VFX, and between the lens and the VFX operator's computer, there's really a whole of steps. So we're not even the last step in that line. But still, we are probably, even if I didn't bring anything to hold on, we're part of a very large system, sometimes on set, the DIT card. And the DIT card, if you want to put it like this, is sometimes the first piece of post-production already on set. So it takes care about copying camera media, creating reports of what's been shot, reading metadata from the cameras. And so the project, when Christophe approached us, was more or less an addition to the path of metadata that we already established through the DIT card. So it was really a very obvious way of getting that additional metadata from the lens, associated again with the clips, to pass it then on to the VFX. And the question was, how do we get the information from the lens if not every camera that is used with these lenses might pass it through? So that's why I think it was a good fill of the gap with the ambient locket, master locket box, because you could kind of bypass, at least that's a solution that's very generic, and if cameras come after and fill or pass that information through as well, you have like a broader ecosystem. So what we in fact do is, in our software, read the metadata from the master locket boxes or from the Transvideo monitors, sync it together with clips. So far the lens doesn't know about any clips, about recorded media so far, so we sync it together with the clips, and then it travels on a clip plus metadata basis then further to post-production. And so at least we have an organized way of handing that metadata together with media over from the set actually.
Well, I think this is actually a fantastic snapshot of evolution of technology, but also cooperation between businesses, and it's opening up boundaries, isn't it? That doesn't exclude anyone. It helps, it brings everyone into the fold in a way. So the amount of work you must have put into this is all pretty phenomenal, but it's been going on for years. That's what astounded me as well. We're not just talking about a couple of years work here. It's 15 odd years of work, and a whole background that you've brought to this. Even with the lenses that those distortion things are known about. So it's why not pass that down the line kind of thing. And it's that sharing but also exploiting what was already there. That's what I find fascinating. That often these bits of information or parameters are known, but they're just not being used sometimes. So when it's passed down the line and it's used more and more, and you find different ways of leveraging that to make processes easier, more straightforward, streamlining stuff, I think it's fantastic. So I hope you're all enjoying the show, and I hope you haven't had to being perched on these chairs hasn't been too much of a nightmare. We've got an assistant to come and take you all off them in a minute, but thank you all for your time. And I hope the show is very good. So thanks everyone.
Thank you.